Hi, welcome to my video on the inverse of a parabola, part 7. And again, like the previous video, this one is on another problem that I made up to help you understand the inverses of a parabola. So notice we have f of x is x plus 4 all squared, where x is greater than -4. H of x is x squared plus 1 all squared minus 3, where x is less than or equal to -1. So this is a parabola, and the vertex of this parabola right here, x is -4 and y is 0, because the 0 is understood to be on the end. And we have the y coordinate is 0, so y is 0. This is a plus, so that means the y value is going to be greater than or equal to 0. And this parabola, we have a vertex of opposite of +1 is a -1 and -3. Again, when you put a -1 in the place of x, this becomes 0. 0 squared is 0, and we get a -3. And the y value of the vertex is -3. And because this is positive, again, we have greater than or equal to -3. So we'll need to use that coming up because we're doing the inverses of the f of x and the h of x. So the inverse has the domain and range switched. So let's look at the f of x is equal to x plus 4 all squared. And so we make the f of x a y. Make the f of x a y, switch the y to an x and an x to a y, and we solve. So the square root of x is plus or minus the square root of x. The square root of y plus 4 squared is y plus 4. So y is equal to plus or minus root x minus 4. So that's the inverse. So that's f to the -1 of x is plus or minus root x, and it's not underneath roots, just a -4. So let's look at the f of x. The f of x, x is greater than or equal to -4. The y is greater than or equal to 0. That means that in relation to the inverse, x and y, so the domain is the range, greater than or equal to -4. The range is the domain, greater than or equal to 0. So that means we have the y values greater than -4, and greater than is a positive. So based on that, we have the f of x, f of -x is greater than is a positive one. So it's the root of x minus 4, not the negative one. So that's because of the domain and range is switched. So the y values greater than is the positive. So let's have a look at the h of x. The h of x is equal to x plus 1 all squared minus 3. So the h of x becomes y. We switch the y to an x and an x to a y. Now we're going to solve for y, so it's an x minus 3 becomes a plus 3. And we have the y is inside, so we got to do the square root first. So the square root of x plus 3 and the square root of x plus 1 squared, all squared is x plus 1. So y is equal to plus or minus the square root of x plus 3 minus 1. And this is the inverse in relation to, so this is h to the -1 of x. So we have plus or minus the square root of x plus 3 minus 1. And in relation to this equation, notice that the x is less than or equal to -1, and the y is greater than or equal to -3. So in relation to the inverse, x and y, so the x becomes the y, so y is less than or equal to -1, and the y becomes the x, so it's greater than or equal to -3. Now, the inverse, the y value is less than -1, and less than is a negative. So that means the h of negative x is the negative of x plus 3 minus 1. Because that's less than, that means that's negative. Because that's greater than, that means we picked a positive. So we want to find the points of intersection of the inverse of f and the inverse of h. So that means the f of -1x is going to equal to h -1 of x. That means the square root of x minus 4. Square root of x minus 4 is equal to the square root of x plus 3 minus 1. So we have a root on each side, and we did a unit on this back in radicals, so just check that unit on solving radicals and square root radicals, and you'll see how to handle this. So we have a root, square root on each side, so rather than combine them, I'm going to leave the roots on each side, but I'm going to make it root x minus 4 plus 1 equals negative root of x plus 3. So I took the plus 1, moved it over here, and I got the root of x minus 3 equals the negative of the root of x plus 3. So I have a root on each side. I have one constant, because when you have a root, you got to square both sides. So if I had left that -1 here, I would have a binomial being squared, and I would have a binomial being squared here. So I put the -1 over here to make it one binomial and one monomial. So now I'm going to take this side and square it, and this side and square it. So when I square this side, the root of x times the root of x is x, and the product of these two is a -3 root x doubled, so it's a -6 root x, and a -3 times -3 is a +9, and negative squared is positive, and the root of x plus 3 all squared is an x plus 3. So even though I squared these, I still have a root left, so I'm going to isolate that root. The x's cancel out, so I have -6 root x equals 3 minus 9. -6 root x equals -6. Divide by -6, and I get root x equals 1. The root of x is 1, so I'll square both sides. So the root of x squared is x. The root of 1 squared is 1. So that means I want the intersection, so we can sub it right in here. So if f of -1 of x equals the root of x minus 4, so that means x is 1, so the root of -1, x is 1, so we go 1 minus 3. So square root of 1 is 1 minus 4, so that's -3. So that means when x is 1, y is -3. So I could have, if I wanted to, change the f to -1 to a y. I could have made it y equals root x minus 4, instead of having f to the -1 of x, which is okay, we work it out. So this is in relation to the f of x. Remember, this is x, and this is the f of x, or the f of inverse, because this is the inverse I'm dealing with. But if I deal with the f to the -1 to be a y, remember x is equal to 1, so y equals the root of 1 minus 4. Y is 1 minus 4. Y becomes -3. Again, 1 gives you negative 3. So that's the point of intersection of these two inverses. And again, I just wanted to have a look at the algebra. I'm more concerned working out the inverses of each of these. We should be quite familiar with that. But putting these together is more algebra involved. And again, more extra content that you deal with in a problem, the better you become at your math. So that brings us to the end of this video. And again, if you like my video, click the like button. If you're not a subscriber, you wish to select the subscribe button. Visit my math website, www.mathfullyexplained.com, to find more information about me, my videos, and the content. And that's the content that I have on my YouTube channel called Math Fully Explained. Notice, all one word. Thank you for viewing my video. Hope the video helped you. Bye-bye.